Hello students, so let us continue our discussion on the next problems. Page number 44, problem number 16, an electric dipole moment, 2 into, it should be like an electric dipole of dipole moment, okay, an electric dipole of dipole moment, 2 into 10 to the power of minus 8 coulomb meter is placed in an electric field of 5 into 10 to the power of minus 5 Newton per coulomb with its axis making an angle of 30 degree with the field. What is the torque acting on the dipole? Now you see the question is as follows. You have uniform electric field set in the medium, and in this uniform electric field we also have a dipole kept. This dipole is equal and opposite charges like this, and the direction of the dipole is always from negative to positive, somewhat like this. So now let me change, because the given angle between the electric field and the dipole moment is 30 degrees. So if I put positive here, negative here, we won't get the angle 30 degree. So that is not the right kind of arrangement. The right kind of arrangement is here there is negative charge and here you have positive charge. The direction of dipole moment is always from negative charge to the positive charge like this. This is the direction of P, dipole moment of the given electric dipole. Now this is the direction of electric field, right? And according to the given data, the angle between them, angle between the electric dipole moment and the electric field is 30 degree, right? EP, angle between them is 30 degree, and they are asking us to find the torque acting on the dipole. Obviously, any electric field will exert torque on the electric dipole. The net force on the electric dipole due to external electric field is 0. You know that, right? Net force is 0 because equal and opposite forces will be experienced by both the charges and the system experiences 0 charge. But when it comes to net torque, there will be torque acting on the dipole like this. Say this is positive, no? This is how the positive charge will be pulled, and this is how the negative charge will be pushed like this. So this is the direction, or I can say the kind of rotation that exerts, and hence the direction of the torque, if you want to mention, you can put a cross symbol here. Okay, why cross symbol? Cross represents the direction of torque in 3D, because when, and this is from right hand thumb rule, and this is the direction of the torque. So the direction, this is how the torque is acting, and hence the direction of the torque is into the board. When an arrow goes into the board, what we see is cross. When an arrow comes out of the board, what we see is dot. So this is the direction of the torque, okay, cross. Now they are not asking for the direction of the torque, instead they are asking for magnitude of the torque, and we do have the formula for the magnitude of the torque. Before that, let me write the given data. The dipole moment is directly given, we don't need to calculate it. It is 2 into 10 to the power of minus 8 coulomb meter, and the electric field is also given. The external electric field is E is equal to 5 into 10 to the power of minus 5 Newton per coulomb, and the angle between them is also given 30 degree. They are asking us to find torque. The simple formula for torque experienced by a dipole in an external electric field is tau is equal to P E sin theta. So this is the expression for magnitude of torque experienced by electric dipole kept in uniform external electric field, where theta is the angle between P and E. Obviously, the proper formula expressing it in terms of vector form is vector tau is equal to vector P cross vector E, right? Now, since we are worried only about this part, the magnitude part, we have reduced it to tau is equal to P sin theta. Now, P is 2 into 10 to the power of minus 8, E is 5 into 10 to the power of minus 5 into sin 30. Sin 30 is half, so half and this 2 will get cancelled, and after simplification we will have torque tau is equal to 5 into 10 to the power of minus 13 Newton meter. So this is the value of or the amount of torque that is experienced by this electric dipole in this external electric field. Okay, so in question number 17, the question is incomplete. You just extend the question. Let me read it completely. Consider a uniform electric field E is equal to 3 into 10 to the power of 3 Newton per Coulomb. First part of the question is, what is the flux of its field through a square of 10 centimeter on a side whose plane is parallel to YZ plane? That's fine, but we do not have the direction of electric field given. That should be given. So according to when I went through the solution, I found that the plane of the square given and the direction of the electric field are actually perpendicular to each other. Okay, that I found after looking into the solution. And now that means that the direction of the electric field is along x axis. So you take down or you extend the question as, consider from in the beginning itself, question number 17, consider a uniform electric field E is equal to 3 into 10 to the power of 3 Newton per Coulomb along x axis, or you can also write in the direction of x axis. That's also fine. So after that you can come to the problem, and this is how it looks like. Here you have three-dimensional space represented, x, y and z, and we have a square of side 10 centimeter. Okay, and the electric field set in this space is along x axis like this. So this is the direction of electric field. Now you can imagine somewhat like this. If you assume this as the square given, then the direction of the electric field is somewhat like this, going through the plane of the square given like this, right? Now the formula for finding the flux is quite easy. Before we go for the formula, let me write the given data. The magnitude of electric field, since it's uniform, it's same at all the points in the given space. So E is equal to 3 into 10 to the power of 3 Newton per Coulomb, and the side of the square is given. Let me take that as A, which is 0.1 meter. The formula for electric flux is quite simple. Phi is equal to E A cos theta. In some references, even in the same book, they have taken S instead of A. Both are fine. A means area, S means surface area. Both of them are representing the area itself. And now the area of the square has to be found because it is not given. A is 0.1 meter. Area of the square is A squared, which is going to be 0.01 meter squared. E, the value of E is given. And what about theta? Look at this. The direction of the area is always normal to it, right? It's actually like this. This is the direction of, this is how the area lie, and this is how the electric field is passing through it. This is the direction of electric field, and this itself is the direction of given surface, because we all know that direction of the surface is always normal to it, like this, right? So this is the direction of electric field, and this itself is the direction of surface area given. Both of them are in the same direction. That makes theta is equal to 0 degree, right? Simplify all these things, that's it. You have the value of flux. Phi is equal to 3 into 10 to the power of 3 into 0.01 into cos 0. Cos 0, 1. So phi is equal to, this can be written as 10 to the power of minus 2. So it's 3 into 10 to the power of plus 3 minus 2 plus 1 remains. So phi is equal to 30. Now the unit of flux, Newton per coulomb meter square, or Newton meter square per coulomb is also fine. You can alter this. Newton meter square per coulomb. Newton per coulomb is from electric field, meter square is from A. Anyhow, this is not, cos theta does not have any unit for that. So this is the solution for first part of the problem. Now in the second part of the problem, when the flux, what is the flux through the same square? Okay, it's the same square given, which means of side 10 centimeter. What is the flux through the same square? If the normal to its plane, okay, normal to the plane of the square, like this, okay, normal to the plane of the square makes an angle of 60 degree with the x-axis. So this normal is making an angle of 60 degree. So how can you expect the plane to be? So the plane will be somewhat like this. Yeah. So this is how the plane is now, because we need its normal of the plane. This is the normal of the plane, which itself is the direction of the surface area A, or we can also put S. S is also fine. So this is the direction of surface area, and this is the direction of electric field, and this itself is the direction of x-axis. That's also fine. Okay, and with that and with this. So this is the normal of the surface, and this is the x-axis. You have the angle between them given 60 degree. So this is how you should picturize how the square and the direction of electric field are making an angle of 60 degree with each other. So this is how the plane is situated, and it's making 60 degree with the x-axis. The perpendicular or the normal of the plane is making 60 degree with the x-axis. Now normal of the plane is the direction of surface area. X-axis has the same direction as of the electric field. So when the angle between x-axis and the normal is 60 degree, the angle between E, the electric field, and the surface area will also be 60 degree itself, because this is parallel to this is parallel to this. Obviously angle between them is equal to angle between this electric field and the surface. So once again writing the given data, E is the same electric field chosen. It is 3 into 10 to the power of 3 Newton per Coulomb, and the surface area or the area given, it remains the same, 0.01, but the new angle theta between A and E, or S and E. Okay, I am taking A, you can take S, both are fine here. Okay, you can represent area using either S or A. Theta is 60 degree. Now let me simplify that into the formula of flux. Flux is equal to E A cos theta. E is here 3 into 10 to the power of 3. Area is here 0.01 into cos theta, cos 60. Cos 60 is 1 by 2, right? So make use of that and simplify. You will have, so this is 10 power minus 2 plus 1 remains out of these two. So 30 it will be. 30 into half, which is 15 Newton meter squared per Coulomb. So this is the total flux for the passing through the given plane, when the plane normal of the plane is normal of the plane makes 60 degree with the x-axis. So this is the solution for second part of the solution. Second part of the question. Next, question number 18, page number 45. A cubical Gaussian surface encloses a charge of 8.85 into 10 to the power of minus 10 Coulomb in vacuum at center. Calculate the electric flux through one of its surface. So now what's given? We have a cubical surface, and inside this cubical surface we have a charge kept. Drawing it in on 2D, I'll try to draw it in 3D. So this is where the charge is kept, at the center of the given cube. So cube is the shape. Now the amount of charge kept at the center of this cube, Q, is equal to 8.85 into 10 to the power of minus 10 Coulomb. What is asked to find? Calculate the electric flux through one of its surface. Okay, let me call that as phi 1. Okay, any one of the surface, because all the surfaces are equidistant from the charge and are same in area, because it's a cube. Now according to the definition of Gauss law of electrostatics, the total electric flux through an enclosed surface, okay, irrespective of what shape is the Gaussian surface and what size is the Gaussian surface, the total electric flux through a considered Gaussian surface, an enclosed Gaussian surface, is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the total charge enclosed, right? Which means the total flux experienced by the entire cube, okay, means cube has got 6 surfaces. The total flux experienced by all the 6 surfaces put together. Okay, so when the charge is inside this cube has 6 faces, 6 surfaces. all of these surfaces will experience flux. Now the total flux experienced can be obtained using the simple formula, which is phi is equal to Q by epsilon naught. Since the medium is vacuum, you can simply keep it epsilon naught. They have given the medium is vacuum. Now this is the total flux experienced. Let us find the total flux experienced by all the 6 surfaces put together, because that is the total surface area of the cube. So now this cube is 8.85 into 10 to the power of minus 10, and the value of epsilon naught is 8.85 into 10 to the power of minus 12. You need to memorize this value, the value of epsilon naught, or you can also keep the value of 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught in mind, which is very simple, 9 into 10 to the power of 9. Send this epsilon naught here, send this here, that is going to be 4 pi 9 into 9 into 10 to the power minus 9. Simplify this, you will get this value. Okay, either memorize this, or you can get this value of epsilon naught using 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is equal to 9 into 10 to the power of 9. Both of them are fine. Finally, we need the value of epsilon naught. Now, after simplifying them, they will get cancelled. It's only 10 to the power of 2 left. So it's phi is equal to 10 to the power of 2, which is equal to 100 Newton meter squared per coulomb. So this is the total flux experienced by all the 6 phases put together. Now the flux experienced by one of the surface, okay, flux experienced by one of the surface is taken as phi 1, and the total flux through all the surfaces, the total of all the surfaces, total flux of all the surfaces is this phi. Now, since there are 6 equal surfaces in a cube, I can write total flux is equal to 6 times flux through one of the surface, right? Now what I need is phi 1, what I have is phi. So phi 1 is equal to phi by 6. Phi is 100 by 6, which is going to be 16.66 Newton meter square per coulomb. So this is the total flux through one of the surface, okay, any one of the surface. Flux through all the surfaces, total flux through all the surfaces is this one, 100, okay. Next, question number 19. A point charge causes an electric flux of minus 1.0 into 10 to the power of 3 Newton meter square per coulomb. So the flux is given, right, to pass through a spherical Gaussian surface. Okay, the Gaussian surface is spherical Gaussian surface of 10 centimeter radius, concentrated on the centered on the charge. So drawing it in 2D, this is the Gaussian surface, spherical in shape, and the charge is kept at the center of this Gaussian surface. Now we don't know what is the amount of charge kept here, but we do know the total flux experienced by the surface. So the total flux experienced by the surface is given, question number 19, which is minus 1.0 into 10 to the power of 3 Newton meter squared per coulomb. So this is the total flux experienced by this Gaussian surface. Observe properly here, the value has got a negative sign with it, right? What does that signify? That signifies the direction of the electric field is actually into the surface, right? Which means that the charge is negative. If the charge is positive, the electric field would be going away from it and passing like this, right? Since the flux is negative here, it's understood that the direction of the electric field is into the surface towards the charge like this. Okay, so it's understood from the given data that this charge is negative. That's fine. Now, these are all given data, and one more data is the radius of the sphere is given, right? Radius of the sphere, this value. Radius of the sphere r is equal to 10 centimeter. I can write that r as 0.1 meter here. Now, there are two questions again. The first question is, if the radius of the Gaussian surface were doubled, means you are actually increasing the size of the Gaussian surface. The radius is doubled. So, this big you are making the Gaussian surface. It's doubled. How much flux would pass through the surface? So, here when this here what's actually given is the size of the Gaussian surface is increased, doubled actually in radius. Now, what is the new flux? So, according to the definition of Gauss law, we can see that the total flux through an enclosed surface doesn't depend on the size and shape of the given Gaussian surface. Not only a sphere, you can have any shape, right? In the previous problem, we had the shape of cube, and you can take any random shape of the surface and put a charge inside it. Then the flux experienced by that surface is always same, which is q by epsilon naught. Is that clear? So, making the area of the sphere large won't affect the total flux experienced by that surface. Because you can see that when the surface increases, obviously surface is increasing, the formula says phi is equal to Ea cos theta. Now, sir, A is increasing, no? At the same time, yes, A is increasing, E is decreasing. The value of electric field at this point is more compared to the value of electric field at this point. So, if I assume this is the new Gaussian surface with the double radius, even this Gaussian surface will also experience the same amount of electric flux as of the one at the center, okay, one in the middle here. So, there will be no change in electric flux, which means phi is equal to the same value shall be retained, minus 1.0 into 10 power minus 3 Newton meter square per coulomb. So, the same amount of electric flux is experienced by the new surface. Okay? Even if you change it to some random shaped surface, even then the amount of flux remains the same. Now, let me go for part B of the question, which says what is the value of the point charge. Now, we can make use of the formula of electric flux derived from Gauss law, which says phi is equal to q by epsilon naught. This q has to be found now. So, this q is equal to phi into epsilon naught. The value of phi is given, which is minus 1.0 into 10 to the power of 3. Epsilon naught is 8.85 into 10 to the power of minus 12. Simplify this, and hence the charge situated at the center of the given sphere is minus 8.85 into 10 to the power of minus 9 minus 3 plus 12 minus 9 coulomb. So this is the charge situated at the center of the given spherical surface. Right. Next, question number 20. A uniformly charged conducting sphere of 2.4 meter diameter has a surface charge density of 80.0 microcoulomb per meter squared. So we have a sphere again. It's a conducting sphere which is charged. The entire sphere is charged. Okay. So this sphere, let us assume that it is positively charged. Is charged, and the diameter of the sphere is given 2.4 meter, and the surface density of the sphere is also given. So diameter is equal to 2 times the radius, which is 2.4 meter, which makes the radius is equal to 1.2 meter, half of the diameter. And the surface charge density sigma is 80.0 into 10 to the power of minus 6 coulomb per meter squared. Yeah, surface charge density, no, coulomb per meter squared. Now, what is asked to find? There are two parts in the given question. The first part, find the charge on the sphere. So first part of the question is asking us to find the total charge on the sphere. The expression for surface charge density, not only for sphere but for any kind of surface, is sigma is equal to Q by A. A is the total surface area. Now what we need is Q, sigma is given, A has to be found. Since the given shape is sphere, the surface area of the sphere is equal to 4 pi r squared. So A comes here, so Q becomes equal to sigma A. Sigma is given 80.0, let me write it as 80 itself, 80 into 10 to the power of minus 6 into area is 4 pi r squared, r is 1.2 squared. After simplifying this, we will get the value of Q, the total charge Q is equal to 1.45 microcoulomb into 10 to the power of, not micro, it is milli, minus 3 coulomb. So 1.45 millicoulomb, 10 to the power of minus 3 coulomb. This is the total charge on the surface. Okay. Surface charge density sigma is total charge by total area. We have discussed it in theory. Now making use of the same formula, we have obtained the value of charge Q. The second part of the question is, what is the total electric flux leaving the surface? So now obviously this leaving the surface of the sphere. So now see, this surface will have electric fields radially outwards, right? And from the derivation of formula for the electric flux due to surface charge distribution over a spherically shaped body, okay, applications of Gauss law, third derivation, we have obtained the formula which is very similar to the basic Gauss law itself. So which says total electric flux through enclosed, total electric flux through a surface enclosing this sphere, okay, a new surface has to be considered in such a way that which is very close. Okay, here for this problem I am considering the Gaussian surface to be very close, very close to the original surface of the spherical body. Now this assumed Gaussian surface will experience flux. That flux is again very simple, phi is equal to q by epsilon naught. Q is the total charge enclosed by the surface, Gaussian surface assumed, which is the total charge on the spherical body, right. So q, we have obtained the value of q. Let me substitute it, 1.45 into 10 to the power of minus 3 epsilon naught is 8.85 into 10 to the power of minus 12. Simplify them and you will have the value of total flux as 1.6 into 10 to the power of 8, 1.6 into 10 to the power of Newton meter squared per coulomb. So this is the total electric flux through this Gaussian surface we have assumed. Now if you assume the Gaussian surface to be of radius less than the radius of given spherical body, which means if the Gaussian surface lies inside the given spherical body, then the total flux would always be 0, right, because all the electric field lines will start from this point. There will be no electric field lines into it, right, because inside a spherical body you can see the electric field be 0, right. So that is why when you assume a Gaussian surface inside this, you can observe that the total electric flux is 0. Now in this situation the Gaussian surface is close to the surface, almost on the surface. So now you will have the Gaussian total flux, phi is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power of 8 Newton meter squared per coulomb.